Your phone rings at 6:14 in the morning. You are still in bed. The curtain is half open. Gray light sits on the ceiling like a held breath. You reach for the phone without looking, muscle memory, the habit of a doctor, and then you see the number. Moscow. +7. A prefix you recognize but have no reason to expect. Your thumb hovers. 1 second. 2. You answer. The voice on the other end is male. Unhurried. Speaking in accented English with the particular flatness of someone who delivers significant information the way other people order coffee. He tells you your name. He confirms your specialization, cardiology, internal medicine, 21 years of practice. He confirms your current hospital. He confirms your publications. He is not asking. He is demonstrating that he already knows. Then he says the thing that makes you sit up. The president requires a physician. You have been selected. You ask which president. You already know. The word sits in your throat before he answers, a stone you swallowed before you understood its weight. He does not say the name. He does not need to. He says, a car will collect you in 72 hours. Pack for an extended stay. You open your mouth. You have questions, 100, stacked and urgent, all jostling at once. Before you can select one, the line is dead. You sit on the edge of the bed. The gray light has not changed. The room is the same room it was 4 minutes ago, the water glass on the nightstand, the stack of cardiology journals on the desk, the framed photograph of a coastline you visited once and meant to return to. Everything is the same. Something is completely different. Your hands are still. That is the first thing you notice. A doctor's instinct, check the hands. They are not shaking. They are flat on your knees, very still, and you cannot tell if that means you are calm or if it means something in you has already made a decision your conscious mind hasn't caught up with yet. 72 hours. You look at the coastline photograph for a long time. Moscow arrives before you are ready for it. The car that collects you from the airport is black, unmarked, and has no visible door handles on the inside. The driver does not introduce himself. He does not ask about your flight. He drives and you sit in the back with your medical bag on your lap, the same bag you have carried for 21 years, worn at the handle, familiar as a handshake, and watch the city assemble itself through the tinted window. It is February. The sky is the color of old concrete. The streets are wide and bare and the pedestrians move with their chins down against the wind, each one a small figure in a large frame, the way people look from cars in cities where the architecture was designed to remind individuals of their scale. The facility is not what you expected. You expected a hospital. What you enter is a residential complex with a medical wing, immaculate, quiet, lit by the kind of lighting that costs money specifically to appear effortless. You are shown to a room. Clean. Warm. A window with a view of a courtyard where snow sits on geometric hedges with the precision of something arranged. A woman in a dark jacket hands you a document. Non-disclosure. 31 pages. You read it. This takes 40 minutes. She waits without sitting down. The first 3 days are orientation dressed as routine. A briefing on the patient's medical history, portions of it, the portions they have decided you need. A tour of the medical suite. An introduction to the secondary physician, a compact Russian man named Volkov who has been here for 11 years and who answers your questions with the economy of someone who stopped finding them interesting long ago. You notice things. The way the security staff move, never in front, always adjacent. The way certain corridors require a second keycard that Volkov has and you do not yet. The way no one laughs. Not because people are frightened, or not only that, but because laughter here would be a kind of statement, and no one makes statements they haven't pre-approved. On the third night, a knock at your door. 11 p.m. Sharp, deliberate. 2 knocks, not 3. Volkov stands in the corridor. His face is neutral. He says, tomorrow morning. Early. He wants to meet you himself. He turns and walks away before you can respond. You close the door. You sit on the edge of the bed, the same posture, you realize, as the morning of the phone call, and your hands are flat on your knees again. Still. Completely still. The room is not large. This is the first surprise. You had constructed something in your mind, high ceilings, distance, the theatrical scale of authority. What you enter is a study. Bookshelves. A wooden desk. Morning light through a window that faces east. The snow in the courtyard below is pale gold in it. He is already standing when you enter. Vladimir Putin in person is smaller than the photographs prepare you for and larger than they suggest simultaneously, a compression of presence into a frame that radiates outward. Pale eyes. A stillness to the face that is not blankness but control, the practiced resting state of a man who decided long ago that his expressions are a resource, not a reflex. He extends his hand. The handshake is firm, brief, and tells you nothing except that he has done this 10,000 times and controls exactly what it communicates. He gestures to the chair across from his. You adjust his protocol. Quietly, without announcement. He notices. He says nothing about it for 4 days and then, at the end of a morning examination, he asks, the new dosage. Your idea? In the 8th week, Volkov takes you to a meeting you were not told about. A basement level. A room you have not been to. 4 men at a table, 2 in military uniform, 1 in a suit, 1 you cannot categorize. Volkov sits beside you and says nothing before the meeting begins, and what the meeting contains is delivered in a tone so matter-of-fact that it takes you several minutes to understand what you are agreeing to. A public appearance is scheduled. A summit. The uniformed man uses a word Volkov translates as adjustments, to be made to the patient's presentation. Medication timing, not for his benefit but for optics. Symptom management calibrated not to what helps him but to what is invisible on camera. You are a cardiologist. You are also, you understand now, a production element. You say nothing in the meeting. You initial a form at the end. Volkov watches you do it with an expression you cannot fully read, not cruelty, not sympathy, something between them. On the walk back, you ask him, has anyone refused? He doesn't answer immediately. Then, there was one. Before me. She asked to leave. You wait. She left, he says. Flat. Uninflected. Leaving the sentence where it falls. You do not ask what that means. The corridor is long and white and your footsteps make a sound against the floor that seems too loud and you keep walking because stopping is not something the corridor permits. That evening you open your medical bag, the worn one, the familiar one, and you look at your instruments laid out on the clean surface and you think about the person who packed this bag 21 years ago and what they understood their life to be for. The bag offers no answer. You close it. The summit is in November. 3 days before it, he collapses. Not in front of anyone. You are alone with him, a routine morning session, and he stands from the examination table and his right knee buckles and he catches the desk edge and is upright again within 2 seconds, but those 2 seconds exist, and you saw them, and he knows you saw them. He looks at you. You look at him. Neither of you speaks for a long moment. Then he says, in the careful English, this does not happen. You understand what he means. Not a factual statement. An instruction. This did not happen. This will not appear in any record. This will not change the summit schedule. This will not alter the public account of his health that has been curated and maintained and is now as much a political structure as a medical one. You think about your oath. You took it in a bright room with other people who believed in it the same way you did, completely, the way you believe in things before life tests them. First, do no harm. But harm to whom, in a room like this, with consequences that extend in directions medicine did not prepare you to map? You prescribe the adjustment he needs to stand for 3 hours without incident. You log it under a neutral classification that describes nothing. You attend the summit in a monitoring capacity. You watch him cross a stage and shake hands and sit at a long table and perform the version of himself the world is permitted to see. He performs it flawlessly. On the flight back, he catches your eye once across the cabin. His face gives you nothing. But the look lasts 1 second longer than acknowledgement requires, and then he looks away and you look away, and the thing between you, the shared knowledge, the transaction, settles into place like a document filed in a drawer that will never quite close all the way. You stare out the aircraft window at the dark below. Something that was precise in you has become approximate. You can feel it. A tolerance where there used to be a line. You do not know when the line moved. That is the part that troubles you most. Winter comes back. Your second winter. You notice it in the bathroom mirror before you notice it anywhere else. The face that looks back at you has rearranged itself in increments too small to track, and yet here they are, arrived. Lines at the corners of the eyes, deeper than last February. A set to the jaw that was not there. The eyes themselves, this is the part you cannot explain clinically, look like the eyes of someone who has learned to hold information they did not ask to hold. You eat less. You sleep in segments. You wake at 3 a.m. with the precise clarity of someone whose body has decided night is no longer a reliable off switch. You run into the other doctor, not Volkov, a newer one who joined in October, young, still with the particular brightness of someone who arrived at this position with the same freight of ambition and idealism you once carried. She asks you, one afternoon in the corridor, if it gets easier. You look at her. The question is so clean. So uncomplicated by what she doesn't yet know. You tell her yes. It gets easier. This is both true and untrue in proportions you no longer have the precision to separate. She nods, relieved, and walks on, and you watch her walk away and you think, she will ask me the same question in 8 months and I will give the same answer, and the answer will still be both things at once. That evening, Putin's pulse is 61. Steady. His color is better than it was in November. Whatever the November performance cost him, he has absorbed it with a biological efficiency that still, despite everything, impresses the cardiologist in you. He asks you how you are. Directly. He has not done this before. You say, well. He nods once. He does not push it. He looks at you with the pale eyes and you understand, with the part of you that reads rooms for a living, that he knows you are lying, and does not require the truth, and that this, in its own particular way, is a form of mercy. You find the photograph by accident. You are in a town 2 hours from Moscow on a rare free afternoon, a concession Volkov arranged, a bureaucratic favor that felt almost warm, and you pass a shop window and see your reflection in the glass and stop. You are wearing the coat you brought from home. The rest of you, the posture, the face, the way you hold your hands slightly inward at your sides, is not who wore this coat when you packed it 14 months ago. You stand there on a pavement in a Russian town in the pale afternoon and look at yourself for a long time. The clarity does not arrive loudly. It settles, the way a diagnosis settles, not a revelation but a confirmation of something you already knew and had been cataloging in the background while the foreground ran its performance. You are not leaving. That is the first part of the clarity. The phone call that would summon you back to your old life, the hospital, the journals on the desk, the coastline photograph, would require a decision you are no longer the same person who could make. Not because you are prevented. Because prevention and choice have blurred into something you cannot cleanly separate anymore. You are also not the same doctor. That is the second part. The oath is still technically intact, you have not killed anyone, have not directly falsified anyone's survival. But the oath was written for a different room than this one, by people who did not anticipate this architecture of compromise. That night, your phone receives a message from a number you don't recognize. 2 words in English, no context, decide now. You stare at it for a long time. Then you put the phone face down on the desk, the same gesture, you realize, as the photograph in Putin's drawer, and you sit in the quiet room and breathe, and let the decision make itself the way decisions actually make themselves, in the place beneath the place where reasons live. You stay. There is no dramatic moment for this. No single choice with weight and ceremony. It happens in the accumulation of mornings where you pack the worn medical bag and walk the long corridor and do your work with the precision that 21 years built into your hands, and each morning you do this it becomes more completely true that this is what you do, and who you are, and where you live now. Spring comes. Putin's inflammation markers improve marginally, a consequence of the protocol adjustment you made in February, small and real and yours. You note it without satisfaction. Satisfaction requires a version of yourself as an independent agent that you have quietly set down somewhere along the way. You train the new doctor. October, her name is Lena. She is 34, excellent instincts, a particular gift for reading patients who are performing wellness rather than experiencing it, a skill this position will require from her every day. You walk her through the protocols. You answer her questions with the economy of someone who stopped finding them interesting long ago. You hear Volkov's cadence in your own voice. You notice this. You file it. One evening, late in spring, you pass a window at the end of the eastern corridor and the courtyard below is green, the geometric hedges, freed from snow, precise and absurd and alive, and you stop for a moment and look at it, and something in you tries to remember what it felt like to stand on a pavement in a Russian town and not recognize yourself. The feeling is faint now. Getting fainter. This is how it works. Not a dramatic erasure but a slow replacement, the way a scar replaces a wound, functional, smooth, and entirely unlike the original skin. Somewhere, in a city that is not this one, a doctor's phone is ringing. A Moscow area code. An unhurried voice. A silence on the other end while a life tips on its axis. They will come. They will stand in this corridor. They will look at the courtyard hedge and not yet understand what they are looking at. They will learn. The cycle begins.